This is the Smart Poker Study Podcast for players who are always striving to be better today than they were yesterday. Through strategy discussions, Q&As, and Poker Pro interviews, we'll dive deep into everything related to poker tactics, study techniques, and the mental side of the game. All in an effort to improve your skills, maximize your profits, and to make you a lifelong successful player. This podcast is brought to you by SmartPokerStudy.com, and I'm your host, Sky Matsuhashi. Poker people, make sure you listen to episode 21, where I showed you how to get the most out of every poker strategy book you read, and to ensure you put to use the valuable lessons contained within. Hey poker people, it's finally here, day 21 of my 30-day challenge to release a new podcast every day. Yes, we reached the drinking age! I think I'll celebrate with a little brandy and my morning cup of joe after recording the show, or maybe I'll just practice my beer. Yep, beer practice it is. 8:05, here I come. But back to the task at hand. Perfection is perfected, so I'm gonna let 'em understand. From a young G's perspective, and before me dig out a bitch, I have to find a contraceptive. You never know, she could be earning her man and learning her man, and at the same time burning her man. You know I ain't with that shit, Lieutenant. Ain't no pussy good enough to get burned up while I'm up in it, yeah. And that's realer than real deal, Holyfield. And now you hookers and hoes know how I feel. Well, if it's good enough to get broke off a proper chunk, I'll take a small piece of some of that funky stuff. It's like this and like that and like this, Santa. It's like that and like this and like that, Anna. It's like this and like that and like this, Santa. Drake creep to the mic like a phantom. Wow, I haven't sung that in a while. You know, that brings me back to high school and cruising Blackstone here in Fresno, trying to scam chicks. I remember this one time. We kept talking to girls in other cars, and the first question my friend Mark would always ask is, how old are you girls? Because we were 18 and jailbait, you know. Anyway, 4 sets of chicks in a row said like 16 or 17 years old. The final time my friend Mark exclaimed, "What? Is there a fucking convention in town?" And I laughed so hard at that. That was hilarious. And, you know, we would often pull over into a fast food joint and try to talk to these girls, 18 or over, of course. And we'd always make up fake stories to try to impress them. You know, one time my friend David said to a girl, "Sky here races horses, you know." And she said, "Oh, yeah?" Like she was totally interested, you know. And I said, "Yeah, totally. I race horses." And I was just yes-anding my buddy David, you know. Then conspiratorially, David said to her, "Watch this." And then he asked me, "What type of horse do you ride?" I didn't know squat about horses, and I still don't, of course. So I just said the very first thing that came to mind. "It's a black stallion." I could barely get it out before I started busting up laughing, and so did David. You know, she had no idea what was going on. And wow, I remember that. That was good times. Black stallion. The only thing that came to mind. Alrighty, well, on to the pokers. Today is the 3rd episode of a 10-episode podcast series all about Ed Miller's book, The Course. Each of the 10 episodes will cover one of the skills that Ed Miller discusses in the book, and this 3rd episode will cover skill number 3, assess your hand value. And so for an overview of the episode, I'll go through this 3rd chapter by hitting each step in my 7-step process to getting the most from poker books. We'll discuss one particular negative mindset that Mr. Miller discusses in this chapter, blowing people off of hands because you're scared of them drawing out when you should be extracting value. I'll tell you how you can correct this mindset and use Poker Tracker 4 to find hands where you should be going for value. And if you haven't already downloaded it, hit today's show notes page at smartpokerstudy.com/pod27 to download your own copy of my 7 Steps to Poker Book Learning PDF to follow along with everything today. And if you haven't already downloaded it, hit today's show notes page at smartpokerstudy.com/pod27 to download your own copy of my 7 Steps to Poker Book Learning PDF to follow along with everything today. And stick around to the end because I've got a special Amazon Music deal to tell you about that's exclusive to my listeners. Now here it is, today's podcast mission. My mission for today is to get you out of a negative mindset of avoiding loss and into a positive mindset of extracting value. Alrighty, I hope you've got that 7 Steps PDF open in front of you, maybe printed out, maybe you've already laminated it and put it on your desk, But, as I'm going through this, step number 1, of course, is to skim, and I've got the book here in my hands, and the title of the book, or of the chapter, is skill number 3, Assess Your Hand Value. So it looks like we'll be learning about, hand values, and it looks like he's going through and talking about some different hand strengths on the flop, how to extract value. There's a couple of headers here. One of them is what weaker hands will call. Okay, it's good stuff to learn about. Another header, streets of value. Okay, flop, turn, or river. Another header, the next one is which streets. Oh, I guess we might learn about which streets to get value on. Maybe the flop and river, maybe the turn and river, whatever it might be. Another header is slow playing. Okay, I hate slow playing myself. I try to never do it unless I just flop an overwhelming monster, Let's see here. The next header is don't protect, quote unquote, protect your hand. Okay. Another header here, bet sizing. And looking at this, it looks like we have 5 different tips or points or concepts regarding bet sizing. Next header is getting value in multi-way pots and loose games. Great, great. So just like the other chapters, he's covering some multi-way pot considerations. And loose games, of course. I mean, loose games lead to multi-way pots, lots of callers. The last header looks like it's final thoughts, so I guess a summary. And altogether, let me do some quick math, flip through here. This chapter is 38 pages long, so there's a ton of killer content in it, without a doubt. So that's the skimming part, step number 1 to our 7-step process. Step number 2 is set a goal. So now that we have a basic understanding of the chapter, we want to read productively and effectively. To do this, I've devised 3 questions, and finding the answers to these questions is our goal while reading. The first question is, what skills can I learn from this chapter? Well, through skimming, it sounds like we'll learn how to extract value with good flopped hands, leading to lots of profits. And what has 2 thumbs and love profits? This guy. Question number 2 is, why are these skills important or relevant to my game? Well, Mr. Miller says he says it in the chapter, but the first 2 skills are about adding folding skills to your game, and this is the first betting skill he talks about. Betting and showing aggression leads to winning poker. Folding skills just help you tread water, while betting skills get you across the pool. Ooh, I like that. Somebody write that one down. Question number 3 is, how can I implement these skills in my game? Well, let's read and find out how to extract some value. So step 3 was reading, and, after reading this, wow, it is some killer info within this chapter. But one thing I'd like to talk about now is this. Ed Miller says, when you flop a good hand, you don't want your opponents to fold so you can win the pot. You want to get the hand to showdown, and along the way, you want your opponents to pay you. And that makes complete sense, and it's really antithetical to how a lot of low-stakes players think. And it's definitely the way I used to think about things, so let's examine this further. So heading into step 4 is summarize and analyze in the 7 steps to learning from poker books. So to summarize, Ed Miller says that players at the lower stakes often have this negative mentality. I can totally agree with that because that's how I often used to feel. And sometimes those thoughts can creep back in. It's up to me to push those back out and think positively and go for value. And this negative mindset will lead to less profits because you're blowing opponents out of the pot who would call 1, 2, or 3 streets and give you mondo value if only you bet something that they could justify calling. But Mr. Miller doesn't really discuss this next part, but it's something I want to talk about. I know that from personal experience that this negative mindset leads to tilt and to a victim mentality. When you think this way and somebody stays in when you think they shouldn't and draws out on you, it'll likely send you on tilt because the thing that you were fearing actually happened. And of course, tilt leads to more bad play and compounded losses. So skip the negative mentality, skip the tilt. Use that positive mentality to win more profits and make good decisions. And as a bonus, this kind of victim mentality leads to bad beat stories as well, and we all hate to hear bad beat stories. So ditching this mentality will lead to more profits, less tilt, and less pissed off friends who can't stand your bad beat stories. Yeah, triple prize. So let me put it another way. Do you think good, long-standing poker pros have this negative mindset? Is Negreanu or Ivy thinking, I've got top pair, gotta bet big to get him to fold every draw? Or are they thinking, I've got top pair, how can I extract the most from this folio? Yuppers, I think it's the latter. Okay, so the next part to step number 4 in our 7-step process is to analyze. And I want to do this by first looking inwards. Are you affected by this negative mindset? Is it something that you suffer from? Do you sometimes overbet pots or make abnormally big bets to get folds when you flop top pair or better? If so, you suffer from this and you've got to fix it. So next, what we should do is analyze some hands in Poker Tracker 4 to see how we react when we hit top pair or better. Choose the date range you want to look at, and under the Hand Value tab, select Made Hands, choose the hand you want to analyze, and I recommend starting with top pair, top kicker. You can actually select top pair, top kicker, and sets, and two pairs, and flushes, and straights, everything. You could select all the good hands, of course, and make sure you choose hitting it on the flop. You don't want to know when you hit that hand on the turn or river. Know the flop, because this is what we're concerned with right now. And review the hands that come back to you. Are you trying to blow opponents off their hands, or are you trying to extract value? For myself, I know that I'm looking to extract value for the most part, but occasionally I'm trying to blow them off. These are spots that I'm trying to work on. I want to always be going for value. And if I think that they're on a draw, I need to be betting enough to charge them properly to make as much money from their draws. There's a lot of opponents, and I'm one of them, who all ditch to 3/4 pot bets with gut shots or even open-ended straight draws on a two-tone board. You know what I mean? There's other opponents who will call with a gut shot. They'll call pot-sized bets on the flop and turn to hit that gut shot. You need to know who you're up against and bet appropriately to extract that max value from them. So taking notes on stuff like this, on the opponent types, what kind of draws that they reach the river with, all that kind of stuff, that's important to make sure that you can extract the value from the opponents. So step 5 in the 7-step process is taking action, and it's the most important part. We're trying to have this positive mindset of extracting value from opponents with good hands. So the next few sessions you play, every time you flop top pair or better, go for value. Have the following sentence written on a piece of paper on your desk so that you can refer to it quickly to keep your mind focused on the positive mindset. And here's the sentence. I'm committed to extracting value with my value hands, and getting to showdown is the goal. And this is basically an affirmation. And as we discussed back in episode 13 about the miracle morning, affirmations lead to beliefs. So the more you repeat this line, the more you focus on it, the sooner it'll become ingrained in you, and you can ditch that negative mindset. And make sure at the end of each session, answer the following questions. How do I feel about the session played? How did I like employing the skills learned? In this case, it's your skill of going for value as opposed to blowing opponents off of their draws. And the third question is, do I think this skill has some value, and does it merit further review before fully integrating it into my repertoire? So after playing, step 6 is assessment, and you'll do this the next day, of course. And this step is doing a hand history review of the entire session with major emphasis on any hands that pertain directly to the skill you tested. Make sure you look at the session as a whole and not just the specific hands where you flop top pair or better. And how did you do? Were you trying to extract value? If you found yourself trying to get opponents to fold, why was that? Was it a particular opponent? Was it the situation? Was it board texture or your kicker? Did you suffer a beat on a prior hand that affected your mindset on this hand? Analyze why you think you reverted to your negative mindset and commit to not suffering from that again. Repeat that affirmation, of course, over again too as you study. Take notes on what worked and what didn't, what you learned or questions you may have, and things to follow up on for more study. Make changes to your summary based on any relevant information. And step 7 is rinse, repeat, review. Now that you've made the initial assessment, it's time to take action again in another session and try to extract maximum value with value hands. Use this new skill and make any adjustments you want to make, and then assess again afterwards. We're just going to repeat steps 5 to 7 until we decide that we're fully committed to this new positive mindset. Challenge! Here's my challenge to you for this episode. Purposely play your next 3 sessions with the sole intent of extracting value with your flopped value hands. See how this mindset shift affects your game and your tilt over these sessions. Now it's your turn to take action and do something positive for your poker game.
Oh, that's it now. Get out there and be somebody. Go write a book.
So to recap everything, we discussed the damaging and unprofitable negative mindset that a lot of low-level players have, which is not wanting to get drawn out on when they flop a good hand, so they bet hard and fast to elicit folds. You learned why this is unprofitable and what you can do to avoid this mindset. I showed you how to filter for flopped top pair or better hands so you can analyze how you play them. And I challenge you to adopt a positive mindset of value extraction over your next few sessions. Please go to the show notes at smartpokerstudy.com/pod27 for everything mentioned here. And while you're there, make sure you pick up the 7 Steps to Poker Book Learning PDF. Thank you very much for listening today. Send me your constructive feedback through the show notes page. You can also send an email to sky@smartpokerstudy.com, tweet me at smartpokerstudy, or post it in the Facebook group at smartpokerstudy.com/discuss. And of course, like always, I need your questions for the Friday episodes. Please send them to me through all the channels just mentioned. And I want to do a quick iTunes review. This is from Perry, one of the contest winners that we had last week. He titled his review, Helpful Podcast. I have listened to many podcasts about poker, and this is one of my favorites. I recommend it to anyone who wants to learn more about poker. Well, thank you so much, Perry. I totally appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to our first coaching session, which will be coming up. I know you're a bit busy right now, but it'll be coming up sometime in March, so I'm looking forward to that. And also, for everyone else, I love it when people say nice things, so if you want to let me know how you feel about this podcast, please leave an iTunes review. And I mentioned it earlier, but I have a special deal for Amazon Music for all my listeners. If you sign up for a free 30-day trial through me, you'll enjoy unlimited ad-free music streaming from thousands of playlists and stations. Plus, and this is the best part, free 2-day shipping and more Prime benefits. I'm a Prime member. I've been a Prime member for the past year or so, and I freaking love it. It's the best thing ever. Go out there and get your free trial of the Amazon Prime Music. And please visit the show notes page at smartpokerstudy.com/pod27 and click on the banner at the top of the page for this killer offer. And as an added incentive, I'm going to run a contest for this. Everyone who sends me a screenshot of their confirmation email for Prime Music will be entered into another contest for a free hour of coaching. And last time I gave away 2 free hours. This time I might give away 2, 3, 4, or 10 hours. Who knows? So for your chance to win, please get your free 30-day trial through me. Alrighty, poker people, be sure to come back for tomorrow's episode number 28, where I continue in Ed Miller's book, The Course, for skill number 4, barreling. I know it'll be a good one. Everybody needs to understand barreling a bit better, so I'm looking forward to tomorrow. If you enjoyed our time together and learned a little something, please share it with your girlfriends. Until next time, study smart, play much, and make your next session the best one yet.
And at the same time, burning her, man. Now you know I ain't with that shit, Lieutenant. Ain't no pussy good enough to get burned while I'm offended. And that's realer than real deal, Holyfield. And now you hookers and hoes know how I feel. Well, if it's good enough to get broke off a proper chunk, I take a small piece of some of that funky stuff. It's like this and like that and like this, and it's like that and like this and like that, and it's like this and like that and like this, and